Philadelphia News, team of my heart.
You followed the Sixers long enough to know this isn't just about basketball. It's about pride, legacy, and trust. And right now, trust inside that locker room, it's hanging by a thread. You might feel that chill too, because if this story plays out the way it's shaping up, you could be watching the very thing that defines next season collapse before it even begins. This is one of those moments where you stop everything else and lock in, because what I'm about to walk you through, it's a silent bombshell, one that could change everything for the Sixers. And no, I'm not exaggerating. You remember last season, don't you? The injuries, the setbacks, the flashes of hope crushed by the weight of reality. You saw the team stumble, and you kept asking the same thing. Why does it feel like we're so close and still falling apart? I know you felt it. You weren't alone. But now there's something deeper going on. And it's not just about getting buckets or surviving the East. It's about keeping the heart of this team beating. And right now, that heart is threatening to stop caring. So let me ask you this. What happens when your most important player stops speaking up? What happens when the one voice that matters most, the one the other guys should be listening to, decides to shut down? Not out of ego, but out of principle. That's the warning you need to hear. And no, it wasn't screamed in public. It wasn't posted on social media. It came out like a whisper, the kind that punches harder than any shouting match ever could. You've been watching Sixers news, and you know this team's margin for error is paper thin. One misstep, one bad vibe in the locker room, and that's it. Poof, another season flushed away. So when one of the leaders sends a message this subtle, this calculated, you better believe it's worth your attention. Because this wasn't just a quote, it wasn't an emotional reaction, it was a statement. And when it comes from him, it echoes louder than anything. It all started when that meeting, you know the one, the closed-door players-only meeting early last season, got exposed. Somebody in that room ran to the outside, leaked what shouldn't have been leaked. You felt the crack form right then, didn't you? You heard the whispers. Fans started throwing around names. The media danced around it. And the tension, you could almost cut it with a knife. Ever since that betrayal, one man has been holding back something, and recently, he let it slip. You didn't see it in the headlines because he didn't shout, but it was there. He made it very clear he won't be doing that kind of meeting again. Not after what happened. Not when trust gets shattered like that. And in case you missed it, he also let it slip that he knows exactly who the mole was. That's not just a personal grudge, that's a fracture in team culture. And for a group already walking on thin ice, that fracture could split everything open. Just imagine for a second, you're trying to lead a squad through 82 games, fight through injury rehab, carry the weight of expectations, and now you've got to deal with betrayal in your own locker room. That's not just stressful, that's corrosive. It eats at team chemistry. It questions loyalty. And when the guy who's supposed to be your emotional backbone refuses to engage with his teammates in that way again, something's broken. And what if that silence spreads? What if the next time this team faces adversity, and you know it's coming, there's no inner circle moment, no locker room huddle, no leader speaking up? What if he just watches? That right there is the chilling part, because you know who I'm talking about. You can feel it. But let's not say his name just yet. Let's see if you really know this team. Drop a comment the moment you figure it out. This isn't a casual story buried in off-season boredom. This is a crack forming under the surface of a team trying to chase a title. A team that brought in stars, retained core pieces, stayed aggressive in trade talks, all for one goal. But it can all come undone, not from an injury or a missed shot, but from inside the walls. Now picture how that affects everything else. The young guys trying to find their role, the veterans who switch teams more than jerseys, the head coach trying to command attention in a room that might not longer trust itself. This is no small rift, and if it grows, it'll leave scars. He didn't threaten anyone, but he did issue a warning, one that says, "Don't test me again." And if that message gets ignored, the Sixers might find themselves staring at another playoff disappointment, or worse, a fractured season before it even begins.
So, do you still believe this team is ready? You know what's scarier than hearing your locker room has a leak? Hearing that your captain, the guy who's always been the emotional core, the voice of truth, has given up on speaking behind closed doors. Not out of fear, not out of insecurity, but because he no longer trusts the people in that room. That's not just tension, that's a warning flare. And if you're paying attention to Sixers news, you'd know this isn't just some off-season drama. This could be the beginning of the collapse from within. Think about it. You've watched this team rise, fall, rebound, reload, but through it all, there was always one man anchoring the ship. Every time chaos hit, he stood tall. Through injuries, coaching changes, roster moves, you counted on him to hold the center. And now, after what happened, he's choosing silence. That's not just unusual, that's unsettling. Do you feel the weight of that? I know you do, because you're not just a casual fan. You've been there, through the process, through heartbreak, through buzzer beaters that never should have happened, and through postseason collapses that left your chest hollow. You've earned the right to feel this deep in your gut. You know what this team needs, and it needs unity. But that unity is now being tested like never before. Here's where it gets real. The player who leaked that closed-door meeting didn't just break a code, he shattered something sacred. The unspoken trust between brothers. That meeting was supposed to be a moment of healing, a place for raw truth. Instead, it turned into an exposed wound. And when the leader of the group says he won't do it again, what you're hearing is a fracture in the team's soul. You don't need to be inside the locker room to feel it. You've seen how teams fall apart when the core doesn't hold. You've watched other franchises implode because the leadership stopped leading. Now, picture the same thing happening to the Sixers, your Sixers. What if, come December, things start to slip and there's no voice to pull them back on track? What if silence becomes the new normal? And then there's the elephant in the room. This team needs to win. Not just scrape by, not just make the playoffs and wave to the cameras. No, this team, with all its moves, all its trades, all its stars, needs to be competing for the Eastern Conference Finals at a minimum. Anything less will feel like a failure. And guess what? You can't reach that level if your best player doesn't feel emotionally safe inside his own locker room. That's the real pain, isn't it? It's not just the games. It's watching the fabric of this team stretch to its limits and maybe tear apart. It's wondering if all that front office movement, all those calculated trades were for nothing. Because culture still wins championships. And right now, that culture is being tested. You can tell how serious it is just by how quiet the coaching staff has been. Nick Nurse is no rookie. He knows what he's dealing with. But even he has to tread carefully. When your franchise player draws a line like this, you can't just brush it aside. You got to address it, or it festers. Now, let's pause here, because I want to hear from you. Do you think it's possible for this team to build championship chemistry with this kind of distrust floating around? Or do you believe this is just a bump in the road and nothing more? Be honest. Hit the comments right now and tell me if you believe this squad can actually stay united through all this. Use the word trust in your comment so I know you made it this far into the video and that you, like me, are watching with your heart, not just your eyes. I also want to hear what you think about the fan theories. Some folks threw out a name, Eric Gordon, as the possible snitch. Now, Gordon did come out and shut that down quickly, responding directly to a fan online. But does that silence the noise or make it louder? I want your take. Drop it in the comments. Because you and I both know that no matter how strong the roster looks on paper, no matter how high Tyrese Maxey's ceiling is, or how much impact Paul George can bring, if the foundation is cracked, the whole house can fall. And now, it's time. You waited, you watched, and you felt the tension. So here's the truth. The warning, the silence, the threat, it came from Embiid. Yeah, him. The MVP, the face of the franchise, the guy who's laid his body on the line every season for this city. That's the one who made the decision. He's not going to speak in those team-only meetings anymore, because last time, someone in that room betrayed him. And if they don't fix that, this whole thing might burn. So if you're a Sixers fan, and I mean a real one, you have to subscribe and hit that bell icon, because stories like this, they matter more than box scores. And this season could be the most emotional one yet.